Hi there, my name is Jesse Spivak. I'm here with New Visions for Public Schools, and today I want to talk about sorting and filtering spreadsheets, and in particular we're going to talk about how to do that with the New Visions student sorter. I want to talk about two things. First, the purpose of the student sorter, and second, what do you actually need to do or need to know in order to use the student sorter. So first, the purpose of the student sorter is to take all the information that we have about our students and put it all in one place. And once we have all the information in one place, we can set really concrete goals that are rooted in that data. Once we have our goals established, then we can decide on a strategy for achieving those goals. So if really for the first time we're combining information like attendance, credits, biographical information, regions accumulation rate, and region scores all into one place. So you only have to look on one screen for all this information. And then we can really quickly, using the sort, filter functions in a spreadsheet, we can use that to target certain groups of students, set goals for those students around graduation, and decide on a strategy in order to maximize the number of kids who we graduate at college and career ready. So in order to fluently use the sorter, it's a great tool, but you do have to have some technical skills, some chops. So the first thing to be aware of is the function or the part of Google Spreadsheets called freeze panes, which I'll show you in a second. Then we're going to look at sorting. Then we're going to look at filtering. And finally, we're going to look at hiding and unhiding columns. There are some non-technical skills around the New York City and New York State graduation requirements, like the Regents state tests, credit requirements, and any school-specific requirements that you would need to know in order to make sense of the student sorter. But for this video, we're really focused on the technical and on the skills that I had previously listed. So let's actually check out a student sorter. Okay, so I've just opened up a student sorter, and the first thing that I want to point out is that obviously this is a Google spreadsheet. So the real utility here is that many people can work on it. It can be shared with many people in a school or with a network. But the downside of that is that people often leave their virtual desk a mess. So here we're coming in, and it's very clear to me that someone has worked on this already, because when I see basically there are students who are missing from this list. As I scroll down, this doesn't look like a complete roster for a small New York City public high school with around 400 kids. I know it says right here that the row is 417, but if I just scroll, these do not look like 417 students to me. So what I like to do when I go into a student sorter is first start from scratch, like clear everything that's happened so far. So to do that, I can look at the top here, and I want to undo any filters that have already been put in place. And a filter is a really great feature of a spreadsheet, and a filter allows you to selectively hide rows in a spreadsheet based on certain criteria. So, for example, it looks like in this column, cohort, which is the filter icon right here is green, so I know that the filter is on, and that's compared to right over here in the student name column where the filter is blue, so it's not enabled. So I know that cohort is being filtered, and it looks like it's being filtered for any student in cohort 2013 or 2014. And I know that, again, because I don't see any 2012 or 2015, 2016, 2017 students in this list. So someone was looking at seniors and super seniors. So let's undo this. So to undo this, I'm going to click right here in the header where it says to. And when I click in the section that's not on the actual spreadsheet, but that's like the border around the spreadsheet, this is going to make sure that the whole row is selected. When I click on the to, I get the whole row, just like when I click on 359 here, I get the full row in what I'm selecting. So it's a really easy, quick way to select an entire row. So I'm selecting the entire row, and I'm going to click on the filter icon at the top. Filter icon, it looks like a funnel, it looks like you're filtering maybe. So I'm turning off the filter. And when I do that, it's going to take a second and refresh the spreadsheet. And now if I scroll through the data, I can see, there's over, I can see that the filter is no longer applied, and I can see this is a full list of students for this hypothetical school. So before we go on how to set up filters and how to set up sorting, I just want you to see one other interesting or useful tool. So if you've used Excel before, maybe you're familiar with the freeze pane option, where you can freeze the header row or freeze columns so that as you scroll down and up or across a spreadsheet, the headers and selected columns are always visible. This is a great feature. This is a spreadsheet that has 400 rows and it looks like 60 or 70 columns. So it's really easy to get lost and to figure, and if you're deep in the spreadsheet, it would be really easy to not realize that, okay, this number is associated with this column. That's why we freeze the heading. And the way to do that is that if you can look right here, there's this little bar. It looks like a squiggly line. If I move my cursor over it, when I position it just so, the cursor turns into this little hand icon. And when I click on the hand icon, I can pull that bar up and down to freeze as many rows or unfreeze as many rows as I want. So if I want to get rid of the freeze, I can just pull it up, and now none of the columns are frozen, or none of the rows are frozen, excuse me. So as we scroll down, now I have just sort of the numbers without that header row. So you can see why we would want to have the header row. Just looking at this data, it's unclear what are these numbers associated with. The same feature works horizontally, so I can move my cursor over this bar and get rid of it. Right? And so now we have a totally unfrozen spreadsheet. So now let's just show you again how to redo that change. So if I want to freeze the headers, I can go to the very top where this gray bar is and just click and drag it down. And if I want to freeze some columns so I can see student ID, name, cohort, status, I'm going to just click and drag this over. It's that simple. Something to note though, maybe I want to, just for the sake of space and screen real estate, hide a column. Like maybe I'm not so interested right now in student IDs. So what I can do is highlight the entire column. Just like we highlighted the row by clicking on the 2, we can highlight entire columns by clicking on the A or the B. So I've highlighted this entire column, and I'm going to I'm going to right click on the column, and it brings up this menu, and I can just click on hide column. Okay. And now with this little arrow indicates that there's a hidden column, and if I just click on the arrow, the column becomes unhidden. And the purpose for doing that is just to maximize screen real estate. Like I want to be able to see as much of the important data on my screen at once without having to scroll. So there we go. I've hidden that tab. Another interesting feature that can help save you some screen real estate is the column formatting options. So if right now there's all this sort of dead space between the end of Tim's name and his cohort. So if I want to get rid of that space, I can just click and drag this column over, and that's going to resize the column. If I want to do this automatically, so I'm not cutting off, say, Charlene's name, I can just double click this column, and it will automatically resize the column so that all the names properly display. And I'll show you that one more time. So we're just gonna click and drag this column and make it a little bit bigger, or a little bit smaller, or just right. Okay, so now I'm gonna move this bar over so that we have so that we're freezing these columns in place. And I get this little gray border, so I know that as I scroll across, now my headers are frozen and my columns are frozen. Okay, So now the next step is to apply filters. So to apply filters, we're going to select the row that we want to have the filter applied on. So I want that to be my header row because I want to be able to filter by all of these pieces of data. And I'm going to click the filter icon. And now notice this little blue arrow has appeared, indicating that now the filtering option is available on each of these columns. So for me, the first thing to do is look at seniors, look at students who are about to graduate. So to do that, I'm going to click on the filter icon under cohort. And these are all of the values that are listed under cohort, right? So if I scroll down column C, it's giving me the unique list of values. And that makes sense, right? Because you're only going to have freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, and super seniors. So if I'm most interested in the students who are closest to graduation, I'm going to get rid of my freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and just focus on my seniors and super seniors. When I click OK, the list gets filtered. And notice how the icon color at the top changes. It goes from blue to green. And as I sort through, or as I scroll through this, I can see that my list has shortened dramatically because now all of the non-seniors are hidden. And another indication of this, aside from the green mark up here, is that I can see that these rows are starting to no longer go chronologically. They skip. So it goes from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and then it skips all the way to 132. And then 133, and then it skips to 136. So I know that there are rows being hidden. If I want to undo that filter, I can just click and select all. That will undo the filter. If I want to just pick one of these cohorts to look at really quickly, I can do clear to uncheck all of them at once. And then I can select the 2014 cohort. As an example, maybe I want to just look at my seniors. Okay, so now we're looking at the seniors of this hypothetical school. Maybe I want to know how many seniors there are in the school. This is a really nice feature of spreadsheets. I can just click on the bottom row and then hit shift and click on the top row, not including the header. And at the bottom, you see right here, it says sum. So this is adding up all of the 2014. So if I really know my division facts, I can just divide this number by 2014 to get the total number of students, but obviously that's very difficult. So instead, I'm just going to click on that little arrow. Let me show you that again. I'm going to click on this arrow, and instead of looking at sum, I want to look at count. And count just tells me how many there are in the area that I've highlighted. And there are 87 students in the 2014 cohort in this school, in this hypothetical high school. So that's a nice feature. I can do that with text too. If I highlight these numbers, these names right here, I can look down here and see how many names have I highlighted. Great feature. Okay, so we've highlighted, we've selected just the 2014 cohort. Now I want to look at the next piece of data that I'm very interested in, which are students who are not on track to graduation. If you're on track to graduation, then I'm going to assume you're okay for now. At another time I'll look at you, but right now I want to really go to my high priority students. So I'm going to clear this filter. I'm going to first scroll over to the progress to college readiness column in column AM. I'm going to click the filter button. I'm going to clear this filter, and I'm going to just select the students who are almost on track and off track to graduation. Click OK. And my list is going to get much smaller. And so now, out of my 87 students, I can highlight the number remaining, and 48 of them are not on track to graduation right now. So let's figure this out. Let's get a little bit deeper in here. We can do this by filtering for other things. So maybe I want to look at the attendance column. And maybe just for this example, I only want to look at kids who are coming to school consistently, because what I'm going to do for kids who come only 80% of the time is going to be different than kids who come less than half the time, and that's going to also be different than things I do for kids who come almost every day. So for now, let's focus our attention on the students who are coming to school. So I'm going to clear this filter. So first, I get to the filter by clicking on the blue arrow. I'm going to clear the filter. And then I'm only going to selectively check the students with attendance rates higher than 90%. So I want to see only the kids who are coming just about every day, 90% of the time. So I'm checking those, I'm clicking OK. And now I'm left with a list of seniors who are not on track to graduating, but who come to school every day. So let's highlight this list. Right, I'm going to click the top row and then shift and click on the bottom row at the same time, and I can release. And now I'm looking at 23 students right now. So there are 23 students who come all the time to school, but they're still off track to graduation. So let's figure out what's going on here. So another interesting column here is the IEP column. So we can look and see which of these students have IEPs and which of them don't. Let's though look at our actual region scores, or actually let's look at our credits. If I look at the credit column here, column 8C, we can see just how close these kids are in terms of graduation. So we know you need to have 44 credits to graduate. So it looks like all these kids can get there this year, except for Ida. Probably going from 15 to 44 in 1 year is going to be a heavy lift. But certainly getting 14 credits in a year should be a big lift, but it's possible, if you double up on things and and take some online courses. So all these students in terms of credits should be okay. Let's look at their regions. So here we can look at their English regions, their highest math regions, their highest science regions, and then their two required social studies regions, the global and the U.S. history. And here we can start seeing what do each of these kids need, and we can start making plans, right? So let's start with Megan. So Megan got a 58 on the English region, so she definitely needs to take it again, and hopefully we can have her take it again this January to give her just another opportunity to take it before she should graduate in June. And the nice thing there is once she finishes English, if we start scrolling across, we can see, well, she already has her math regions, she already has her science regions, she already has her global regions, and she already has her U.S. history region. So she really only needs this one regions, the English regions. And it also looks like, as I scroll over, she already has her 44 credits. So for the most part, she should be fine. She just needs to raise her score by, less than 10 points on the English regions. We also have a column here where it says prep plan, and it looks like we've already enrolled Megan Ford in a prep course, but maybe we want to also do weekly tutoring sessions also. By the way, so I did that by just double-clicking on the cell, and once you double-click on the cell, it becomes like a text box that you can just type into. So I can do weekly tutoring. And the point here is to begin to not only get a clear idea of who's going to graduate, but also how we're going to make sure that they get there. We can mark kids as with expectations around what diploma we're expecting. So it makes sense that we expect Megan to get a Regents diploma because she only needs one more Regents to graduate. And we can start doing this for all these students. What if I want to look at students in order of their credits? All right, let's focus on the kids who have the highest number of credits. So if I want to sort a column, I can click on this arrow right here and going Z to A. And now I've sorted credits from greatest to least. So we can start with the kids who have the most credits and work our way down to the students who need the most credits, who are very, very close still. So this is a great tool, the student sorter. It aggregates basically all the important student information that you need to plan for graduation goal setting. And then once you have graduation expectations put into the student sorter, you can then create plans around actually actualizing those expectations, those graduation expectations. You can do all this with a clear understanding of how to sort and filter in a spreadsheet. And then the big picture here is that we want to increase graduation rates in all of our schools in New York City. And so hopefully by putting all this information in one place in a fairly easy to use tool, we'll be able to really make sure that as many students as possible graduate and have as many opportunities available to them as possible coming out of our high schools. So thanks for watching, and tune in next time for our next Cloud Lab video. Thanks so much for watching.